The reason we, as the Path of Exile community, are upset by this is because he chose this particular game to try to pretend like he was an expert in. Now, why is this game different? Why is Path of Exile different? Well, if you've never played Path of Exile, let me give you the shortest summary I can. You play as a character that goes around killing monsters and boss monsters and acquiring randomly dropped loot. The game has a story, but the real gameplay is focused around killing monsters and acquiring loot. The primary goal is really to make your character more powerful by acquiring items and levels that affect your character and taking on more and more powerful monsters all the way to the hardest content. So the thing is, Path of Exile specifically is not a game that you can fake at the highest levels. This is because while mechanical skill, like moving around your character and dodging attacks, is certainly important in Path of Exile, and raw character power can mask other gameplay deficiencies, the main way you progress in Path of Exile is with knowledge of the game. And that is what Path of Exile players recognize about other Path of Exile players. Path of Exile is a game where when you're playing it and leveling up, you're constantly being confronted by new game mechanics, new systems, new interactions, new forms of skill point customizations, ascendancy classes, higher base level items, new game mechanics. This continues all the way through the game. It's an endless discovery process. It's an endless process of learning. Path of Exile is designed for you as a player to put a lot of time in and then say, I hit a wall. I don't know how to get around this wall. And maybe you figure it out. Or maybe you don't, and you say, I'm not going to play this game for a little while, and you walk away from it. The developers know this, and they release seasonal updates, and they hope that you come back to play it. So when you come back and play it again, you'll know more about the game, and it will feel easier. And this is because you're now using your understanding of all these game systems to better improve your character in a variety of ways. Over the time you play, you will implicitly understand more and more of the game. You'll understand that you can build characters in specific ways that are not what you would expect at first, but they work because certain game systems interact. You'll understand that itemization in this game is not like other games. So here's where the drama comes in. We recently watched Elon Musk live stream his super high level hardcore character, and he clearly did not know what was going on. Now, hardcore in Path of Exile means the character only has one life. You can't get to level 96 on hardcore unless you know what you're doing. And that brings us back again to watching Elon play. He did not know very simple gameplay functions, which would be completely impossible to not know if you were over level 90 on hardcore. These are things that new players would struggle with early on, but by the time you're over level 90, they should be second nature to you. It is nearly impossible to overstate how important this is. I mean, some basic examples when we were watching include he didn't know how to use his mana flask to restore his mana, which is something you learn at the very beginning of the game, literally in the first zone of the game, and you're constantly doing it throughout the game. He didn't know that you could only run connected Atlas map nodes, despite the character being high enough level that he would have had to have already run hundreds of these. He didn't know how to manage his inventory, which is something you get a handle on by the time you finish the story of the game. Okay. So all of these are pretty bad and pretty much immediately signal that it was a fake. But perhaps the one thing about this fraud that was the most egregious offense of all, at least to me, is when he said that this item, the Hand of Wisdom in Action, is a low-level item, that it only requires level 52, when it is in fact capable of being the most powerful thing that a character can equip. This is because, again, in Path of Exile, the game is built around complex system interactions. Certain items are unique, meaning they always drop the same type of stats. And they aren't necessarily a source of raw power, but rather they give you something very specific and deliberate, which is often unique to that item and interacts with other systems in particular ways. The reason these items are valuable is because they can enable other combinations of character buildings which can be strong, not just because you put on the item and all of a sudden you're granted raw power. For this particular example, if we see the description of the Hand of Wisdom in Action, we see that it has these two lines. 3% increased attack speed per 25 dexterity and adds 1 to 10 lightning damage to attacks per 10 intelligence. Now, even if you've never played Path of Exile, you can kind of understand what these do. If you get more dexterity, you get attack speed, and if you get more intelligence, you get lightning damage to attacks. Cool. Why does this matter? It matters because this item in particular is the only source of these specific modifiers. And these modifiers allow you to scale and build a character focusing on stacking the specific stats of dexterity and intelligence. In fact, if you focus your character entirely on building dexterity and intelligence, and then combine this item with a few others, such as, for example, this unique staff called the Pillar of the Cage God, you can achieve a very high power level for your character. And that's the point. Because unique items in Path of Exile are deliberately designed to not just give you power because it's higher level. Unique items work because they do something specific and unique. People who get sucked into Path of Exile start to think about their characters all day. People who really, really like Path of Exile, they start to just think about how do these systems interact? What can I do with all this? They start to read the Path of Exile wiki while they're at work. They start to wonder, oh, how does this skill actually work? What does this support gem do? What other unique items could I explore? What other systems might help me accomplish this goal or make me more powerful if I want to use this skill? You improve in Path of Exile by getting knowledge of Path of Exile. And every Path of Exile veteran knows this. Path of Exile players are notorious for basically staring at a spreadsheet planner program for their characters and simply theorizing and trying to figure out different ways to build and maximize their potential. So Elon, you tried to hoodwink a game community that has players who spend hours thinking about the game and their characters and learning all the complex interactions of the systems therein. So it was immediately apparent to us and offensive to us that you had no clue what was going on while being so high level. And you know what's sad? The fact that no one would have cared if you were genuine about it and you were still struggling through the campaign. No one would have cared if you fumbled around for a long time, or if you only got to level 50 before having to quit because you had to, I don't know, go work on launching your rockets or managing X or Tesla or whatever. I mean, there are professional streamers and players of other games that switch to Path of Exile and struggle immensely because it's very difficult and very challenging and very punishing. And slowly, those that stick with it become veterans who intuitively start to learn all the things that I just talked about. If you were just honest about it, everyone would have respected you. In fact, the majority of the Path of Exile community would have been singing your praises, giving you encouragement, and telling you to stick with it. And it would have been immensely rewarding for you to actually learn what makes this game incredible. But you tried to shortcut it, and it's a game you can't shortcut. It's a game with so many complex system interactions that it's like learning a new language. And anyone who's tried to learn a new language knows that there's no way around it and no way to shortcut it except just doing it and fumbling it and messing up and making mistakes and sometimes looking like a fool. And you just keep going until it starts to get better. I hope in the future Elon actually gets to play this game for real and explore the incredible depth of what makes Path of Exile great. Because there was fundamentally no reason to lie. And at the end of the day, as Path of Exile players, we're not mad. We're just disappointed that you squandered the opportunity to actually engage with one of the best action RPGs of all time.